welcome everybody to our January Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. First, I want to just recognize that we have a new person here, Ruby Pulliam. Am I pronouncing? Oh, she's saying yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure if somebody would like to introduce her, or if Ruby, you'd like to introduce yourself.
I can go for it.
Okay, great.
My name is Ruby Pulliam. I'm the new Commissioner of Human Resources for Tompkins County by way of Niagara Falls, by way of Buffalo, by way of Connecticut, anyway, by way of Mississippi. But I'm happy to be here. I've been here. This is my third week, and I'm still coming back, as they say. But it's been good, and I appreciate all the support from the legislature.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So next, what we're going to do is, are there any other introductions or announcements?
Just update on the reading and discussion group. Yesterday we launched with 17 participants out of the 20. A couple of folks had schedule conflicts. I thought we got off to an excellent discussion of Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. Very engaging discussion. And I think we're off to a good start with this as we look forward to the next 3 weeks of conversation with Belisa. And so I just wanted to report back on that, and that's launched as a part of this, which is an offshoot of this committee.
Great, glad it's off to a good start, Dr. Clark. Any other announcements?
Hi, everyone. I know it's a little far off, but just mark your calendars for March 1st at 7 p.m. It's the Colonel Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative lecture. And this year the committee is bringing Ijoma Aduo, I think is the last name. I always blank on it, my apologies, who is the author of So You Want to Talk About Race, best-selling New York Times best-selling book, and also recently a book called Mediocre. She will be speaking at Cornell. Well, she won't be here at Cornell, but it'll be a virtual event, 7 p.m. on March 1st. And I will shoot Kathy the link to register, and she can get it out to the full committee. Right, Kat?
So this is to celebrate Martin Luther King Day in March?
It's not Martin Luther King Day. Dr. Clark can probably talk more about it.
Yes, I know.
It's sometimes really hard to get these speakers to commit. It usually happens in Black History Month. We usually have it in February, but she's not able to come anytime in February. So the first time we can get her close enough to February is that Monday in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we celebrate Dr. King and Black History 365, buddy-o.
There you go. There you go.
Say amen. That's how I have to say it. Amen on that one.
Hey,
Yeah.
get a foot stomp with it too.
That's right, that's right.
Oh yeah, we're also going to be celebrating Black African American History Month in February too.
Yeah.
That's right. So I have a little bit of additions and a little bit of changes to the agenda. So
Before you do, may I make
sure.
one more announcement? February 26th in Black History Month is GX annual Black History Month Community Talent Show. This year, our theme is a party for Kamala. So 6 p.m. it'll be virtual. Usually is at the high school, but so February 26th, 6 p.m. GX Black History Month Community Talent Show. Thank you.
So
Can I ask a follow-up about the talent show?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, oh, is this?
You're welcome. We would love to have you sing. Thank you.
Oh, no, I was gonna say that.
I didn't know if you told her yet, Leslie. We were gonna surprise her.
No, actually, what I was thinking was in the spirit of inclusion. I was like, what could our committee do to be a part? Is what I was gonna say.
Oh, you were just volunteer for the rousing rendition of, His Eyes on the Sparrow. So come do your thing.
Well,
So anyone, we usually do welcome community members who are, talented, would like to do something that is representative of Black history, Black culture, whether it's poem, reciting or dance. The Greek squads always come through with, some stepping. For those of you who have attended, it's a really good event. And we try to highlight different aspects of Black life and Black culture, including children reciting historical facts about Black folks and so on and so forth. So please do, I never say folks, why did I say that word? Black people. So please do, if you'd like to participate, we would love to have you there. Deanna.
WDIC was we're all in together. I might be ushering. I don't know if you need ushers, but I might be ushering. So.
I think there's time after we get the history of WDIC, or you could do it based on the values presentation today. I think either one of those would lend itself to either, a full-scale diorama or a poem, or, I don't know if they still call it this, but modern dance, some interpretive modern dance. So there's time.
Yeah, Kate, get it, girl. Modern dance.
That's what we used to do in high school, so I'm sure it's not modern anymore.
I volunteer to do some interpretive dancing.
Okay, we got that. Got that, Leslyn?
I'm pretty good at it.
You're on, Larry.
Oh no.
So I see, let's see, Amy is in the chat. Let's see, you need to leave at 4:25. Is there anybody else that needs to leave early today? Dr. Clark, when do you need to leave?
I'll need to leave a little bit after 4. I've got a meeting that I have to attend that just got on my calendar.
Okay, anybody else? All right, why don't we do the things first then that require votes? And so first off, we'll take the minutes, and well, I'll tell you the other things that are added to the agenda today. Henry wrote up a proclamation honoring Black History Month next month. So we're going to go over that and vote, to endorse that to be read at the legislature meeting. I believe that'll be February 2nd. And then Kate and Nick, who are on the call, are going to talk about the update on how the change or the updates to the values for the county are going. And I think that's it. I think everything else is on here. Did I forget anything else?
Going to be voting on the resolution, the values resolution today, or is that as well?
Thought we were. Do we need to add that to the agenda as well? Or we were just looking at that resolution today? It's a draft. Are we supposed to vote on it today, Amy?
I think that was the intention, but we didn't get the draft into the minute track on time because we were still editing it. So I think that's up to the committee to decide. Kate and Nick are prepared to present what the changes are, and then there was a resolution sent late to the group. But if you could consider that today, that would be great. If not, we can consider it. It's going to, I think, 3 committees, so we can start the process multiple places.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I had asked people to be able to talk about the history of WDIC, and so for me, that's really important that we make sure we have enough time for that and discussion. So if we could put that later, even though you're not going to be here, Amy, is that going to be okay?
That is fine by me. I think you have Nick and Kate have shepherded through this. Deanna was involved and Leslie's
Okay.
been in it, so I think they can speak to it as well.
Okay, if we could do that later and then see how far we get on that and if we get up to the resolution. So that could be something for that resolution and for the proclamation for Black History Month. Those are things I was hoping maybe Kathy could do a screen share when we get to those. Or no?
I could try.
Or someone
I don't-
else?
I don't know if I
has those?
can do that. I could get set up.
Or Henry, do you want to see if you can do that?
What, share the resolution?
Well, we'll need someone to share the resolution and someone to share the proclamation since they came in late.
It was sent to all committee members, both documents.
Yeah, I think we can pull it up from email when the time comes. I don't think that, as long as we have share screen availability.
Okay, sorry, Kate, what did you say?
I said, I think we can pull it up from the email on any of our computers if we have share, and then we can share screen. So I don't think it'll be a problem.
Okay, because I just want to make sure, we're as, giving people, as transparent as possible that, if people didn't get a chance to read anything that came in, today. All right, so why don't we go ahead? I think we're safe to go ahead with the minutes approval from December 2nd for this meeting. Can somebody move the minutes from December 2nd? Henry and Leslin. Okay, and any discussion on the minutes, changes? Okay, so I'm gonna go to the folks that are members to vote. Henry,
Yes.
Leslin,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Kit?
Yes.
Don't see Rob on here. Rachel,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
and Deanna.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so why don't we do the, we have actually several things to vote on. Why don't we do the resolution, Henry, next? Do you want to talk a little bit about that and see if,
So,
did folks get to see it? Is there anybody that hasn't seen the resolution for Black History Month?
I have the proclamation open. I can share my screen, I think.
Okay, you want to try that?
Yeah,
Sorry to put you on the spot, Kathy.
let's see. I'm not able to share. I don't know why.
I assume you're a co-host, Kathy?
What's that?
I assume you're a co-host?
Yeah, I'm the actual host. And
Okay.
I have it pulled up in a
That'd
Word
be from
document. Would you like me to
Brittany.
share?
Brittany said she could share too. Yeah, I don't know why it's not giving me the option.
There we go.
Can everybody see it?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Give those folks that haven't had a chance to read it, if you want to read through it quickly. Everybody all set? Any discussion, any questions on this? Leslin?
Henry, thank you for doing this. And the first whereas for me needs a little more introduction. So if you would indulge me, I wanted
Sure.
to offer that it says, whereas the first event recognizing Black history or honoring African American history, it just says the first event was celebrated during a week in February. Since that's our introductory whereas, I thought it would make better sense to have what it was. The first event recognizing African American history was celebrated. Would you be amenable to that?
Yes.
Thank you.
That was my my suggestion. So
Thank you.
Any other comments, suggestions, discussion? Okay, so why don't we go ahead and vote on this? Leslin?
Never mind. Good.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and vote. I'll go in the opposite direction. Actually, why don't I just stay in the same direction if folks don't mind, just then you'll know when your name's coming up. I have a list here. So in favor of this, so Henry,
Yes.
Leslin,
Can I ask a question before I vote?
sure.
Of the historians, sorry, in the room. I should have done it. I have always known the national recognition to be Black History Month. This speaks of African American History Month. Can we substitute one for the other?
I don't know. I put it in African American History Month just to be sort of current. But yes, it is Black History Month.
No, I'm just asking.
Leslin, I had the same comment. That was going to be one of my questions as well.
We can put maybe Black History Month, also known as African American History Month, also known as Black History Month in it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Leslie.
No, jump on it, Dr. Clark. I look to my elders.
Oh. That really does mean something now. But I would suggest Black, primarily because I think Black is a sort of term. I mean, while we on one hand kind of focus in large measure on African American history, but it also reflects the broader diaspora of Black people in the Caribbean, in Canada, and other places as well.
Trust me to stir stuff up.
And I have one more question or comment as well.
Go ahead.
Is there any way, and I don't know where this would go, can we talk about our commitment to social justice in here somewhere? I feel like it speaks to some of the comments. You know, I like how it says in the nation there are countless ways, those recognized, unrecognized, and unrecorded. But then I think there's so much happening with our current climate that I don't want to miss the moment of us talking about the power of what Black America means. Like, we literally, in terms of like voting, changed the state of Georgia, you know, like, and so, which has changed our country. Well, we hope will move some things forward. And so I think I don't want to miss that moment to speak to Black power specifically and elevate those things. And then also some of the struggle, you know, because it's not easy at all. So I don't know an artful way to say that, but that's what I feel like I would be added to.
I would agree. I mean, the fact that President Biden came out with, you know, sort of the beginning of a racial equity plan, I mean, that is reflective of the power of Black protest and Black votes. And so I think in that context, I agree.
So does somebody have a whereas to suggest, or, I'm sorry, Annie. I just can't get over myself. I've been chairing a meeting for many years. I was like on a roll. I apologize.
Right, and I don't have I just had an idea and I don't have any word language other than I thought that was, so Henry, I support the resolution wholeheartedly, but if we're at
why don't we pass it as is, but then I'll work on some language to add social justice in so that everybody can move on for their 4 o'clocks.
Right, I was just going to suggest that. Thanks, Henry. So why don't we see if we can pass it as it is, and anybody that wants to make edits, you can, or suggestions, you want to just email Henry? Would that be okay, Henry?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. So what's the first statement or the first line? Did we change that one back again?
No, we can do that as amended.
Okay. All righty. So let's keep going. Let's see, where were we when Leslyn threw us off a little bit here? Okay. I think
Yes.
we got to, I think we were just doing Leslyn. Okay. So Leslyn, did you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Lisa,
yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Kit,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Deanna.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a yes, so that's unanimous. Thank you for everybody on that. And thank you, Henry, for bringing that forward, writing that up and having to deal with all these edits, but good edits to make it better.
Yep.
Let's see. So I'd like to do next the nominate and vote for vice chair for WDIC for 2021. So that would start next month in February. And I was discussing this a little bit with Kathy Covert, Henry, Leslyn, and I think traditionally the vice chair, if I'm correct, has been a legislative member. No, it hasn't. So it
Not
hasn't always
always.
been.
No,
Okay,
it hasn't
so
always been.
just in my short history, it's what I've seen. But it doesn't have to be. So it can be anybody on the committee, correct?
Correct.
So to talk about what the well, I'll talk about the role, what the role entails. But before that, I forgot to mention. So Henry Granison is going to be the chair of WDIC. So you'll be in good hands as I pass the baton to him. And so he'll be starting, and we'll talk about the schedule for next year a little bit later. So it's going to be a little different. So if you're not able to stay in the meeting when we discuss that, please look for an email about the different dates and times of that. So for the vice chair, and please correct me or add to what I'm going to say. The role of the vice chair is to assist in forming the agenda for the meeting, is to help take over and to facilitate the meeting if the chair is unable to come, or if they're, exceedingly late. I know that's happened, not in this committee, but in another committee. Sometimes that happens, people get delayed. So am I missing anything else as far as any roles for the vice chair?
I think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so, Annie. I think general, just, working with the chair and with the committee and setting direction. Pretty much it.
So I had someone I wanted to nominate, and somebody that I checked with earlier today, if they'd be willing to do it. Somebody that and that's Rachel Graham, who has been very active in this work in her role in her department, and also her role throughout, the county workforce for quite a while. And I'd like to open it up. Are there any other nominations?
Hey, you need a second for Rachel, and I will second that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So we have one person nominated. Larry, I see your hand up.
I was gonna try to nominate Leslyn to make her stay on the committee at least, but I didn't talk to her about that, so I won't nominate her.
I know where you live. You better not. I know where you live.
I know. Will you be, even though you're leaving the legislature, are you thinking about remaining active in this committee at least?
Can I answer that later? Can I answer that after the vote?
Sure. I mean, I don't mean to pressure you, but I think it would be nice to have you on the committee just because you're good at it.
Thank you, Larry. I love you.
And you can nominate yourself too. So are any other nominations? You can nominate yourself or someone else. Going once, going twice. Okay, so we have a nomination on the floor for Rachel Graham for vice chair for WDIC for 2021. And any discussion before we vote? So anything anybody wants to say? Rachel, would you like to say anything?
Just that I will do my best if I am vice chair. I'm still so new and learning the ropes, but I will do my best.
Thank you.
In the interest of formality, Annie, may I move that nominations be closed?
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, so we need a second to close the nomination. Okay, so we have a first. Anybody want to, Henry, a second, closing the nominations? Okay. Do we need to vote on closing the nominations then?
Yes, you
Okay,
should.
so so this vote is to close the nominations for vice chair. Henry,
Yes.
Leslyn,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Kit,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Dr. Clark, I think left already, right? Okay, Deanna.
Yes.
Okay, and now we're going to vote on electing Rachel Graham as our 2021 WDIC Vice Chair. And so Henry,
Yes.
Leslyn,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Kit,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that's unanimous. So congratulations, Rachel.
Thank you.
And I will still be on the committee this year, as will Leslyn, so we'll be glad to help you both this year. And possibly into the future. We don't know. We're not committing, apparently, at this time. I'm not sure if we have time on the agenda for all of that. So let's see. The next thing I want to go over is the history of WDIC. And so Leslyn, Kit, and Larry, we're going to talk to us a little bit about that. And how would you guys like to start that? Also, I didn't put Kathy's name on here, but Kathy also, of course, has been here from the beginning. So, and Kathy has been involved. So I'll leave it up to you guys how you want to start this.
So I'll just say, Larry and Leslyn, I had down that 2005 is when we all got things rolling. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't need to do this if others have things kind of prepared. I went through and kind of pulled up some information that I had, and then I kind of coupled it with some information about that year. So I don't know if others want to go first, or I can share what I have.
So why don't I just go before 2005, Kit, and then have you pull up what you have. So
Sure.
Real quickly in 2004 and before 2004, actually, since I got on the legislature, county employment, within county employment, we're experiencing, a few issues relative to the discriminatory behaviors among and between employees. And in 2004 sort of was the straw breaking the camel's back for me. And during our budget deliberations of 2004, just before that, we had a very severe incident that required attention. And I did not feel like our legislature was paying enough attention to it. And I was not comfortable with us just rolling out money and appropriating and funding departments with no attention being paid to the issues of equity and discrimination. And so I made a big stink about it. Kathy probably was there when I stunk it up and, threatened, to go to the media if we don't do something different. Say I would not vote on the budget unless I knew something was going to happen to address this issue. And that I will be public about it. The chair of the legislature coming into 2005, Tim Joseph, we had several meetings during November, December, and one of the things that we talked about doing was establishing a committee, a working committee to do two things. One, advise the legislature on action steps that we can take towards, at that time, what was called a diversity and inclusion initiative. And the second part is also to provide learning and education and training opportunities for the workforce around diversity and inclusion. That was at that time. Part of the work of the committee would include, sort of developing the diversity plan for the county and so on and so forth. In 2005, the chair of the legislature did agree in his statement, state of the county statement, or the organizing meeting, did speak about the formation of the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which is the name I gave it in conversations that we had in 2004, and appointed me as the chairperson of that committee. One of the things about the committee that was important was that it could not be all legislators. It was extremely important to this committee be inclusive, so that it included staff at all levels, community members, that we can get a good degree of expertise and audience around the table, representative audience around the table. And that was the start of the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So reaching out to, you know, Larry's and Audrey Cooper's and my dear friend Constance Thompson, who worked at Cornell as a diversity recruitment specialist at that time, and several others, into the entire workforce to become a part of the committee starting 2005. So that's the preamble to here we are, committee gets started, and Kit, you can take it away.
So I think that's great, Leslyn. You know, I think I remember how amazing it was that we were going to have this, that this was from a staff's perspective. I remember how powerful it felt that we were going to be really focusing on having a committee that was, you know, specific to that. And when I would go out and talk to other staff at other DSSs across the state, they were amazed that we in Tompkins County were doing this. Now, they're used to us in Tompkins County doing different things, but even so, I think that they were really pleased. And I think that so my role at the time at DSS was in staff development. And so I would talk to staff, and staff were really, I think it really brought hope to the staff. So I went back and looked at, I was trying to remember the folks. What I remember of the time was Larry and you, Leslyn, and myself, and I think it was Betsy Doling and Constance, and I can't remember who else, but we would all, I remember us spending lots of hours in the boardroom at Flick, at Finger Lakes Independence Center, and us really working on, you know, how are we going to create this logo? How are we going to create a statement? And I think, you know, like any other group that has a fairly small task of developing a statement and a logo, but we know that this is going to be the you know, the thing that symbolizes this amazing group. I think we were all filled with a lot of excitement and anxiety about it. So I just remember spending a lot of time. I don't know, Larry, do you have things that you?
Well, I just remember the very beginning being really impressed by how large the response was to the invitation that the county and Leslyn sent out. I mean, we were a very large group of people from all departments, and lots of people who didn't have formal relationships with the county, so community members. And sometimes I missed that. And so we might want to think about ways to get more community members involved. Although I think the WDIC is functioning at a really great level. So I'm a little hesitant to say, let's change an important aspect of it. I'll just tell a little bit of funny inside humor about the logo. Certain legislators somehow saw elephants in the design of the logo. So that was a pretty interesting meeting after we got that feedback. Don't ever, when you're creating the beginnings of something, don't ever assume that just because you're clear about what you're doing, that everybody else is clear about what you're doing. And that, especially around things like diversity and inclusion, there's going to be pushback in funny ways that people, I think, don't really anticipate and don't realize they're doing. We also used to have food until some mean, horrible, terrible person made us stop doing that. So we should flatter up some people in the next year or two. And one of the first things Leslie, of course, wanted to break off and work on was one of the hardest things to do, which was try to figure out how to get people through the civil service process and how to get them into the pipeline, and then also how to alter the civil service process at the state level so that more people from more diverse backgrounds could participate in the workforce, both here and in other places. We got a little way, and I still think it's an important aspect of what we need to do, because as we know, the vast majority of hires in the county come from civil service. So we got to get people into the process. We did eventually figure out a way to start that, which is to create these project assistants and other things. So sometimes I feel like committees like this that are large and are working on a lot of stuff don't get very much done, but the WDIC over time, and certainly we've had our ebbs, I think we've done a lot. And part of what I think is the most important is that we have convinced department heads over time that it's important for them to participate in the process, particularly around human resources issues, because that's really what we're trying to alter. I'm trying to think if there's anything funny that I could say. I mean, I just feel like we had really big dreams, and we still have really big dreams. Well, we were convinced, I think, that we were going to make huge changes, and we've made big changes. But I think, at least for me, I saw the county as a really we can do what we want if we define the issues in ways and the agenda in ways that people will accept and get behind. And I think that's been a really important part of the story of the WDIC, is that at points where we wanted to make things happen, we were able to explain them in ways that other people could understand it. Oh, and lastly, and I know I've gone on a bit, lastly, I think several of us were committed to the idea that we had to permeate the workforce with the language of diversity and inclusion so that people could speak to each other about these complicated topics.
Thank you, Larry. I know we have to move on, but I'll add very quickly. You're very right, Larry. There was a lot of work that we did. Kid, I look back at my folders and like the first meeting, and Lisa will probably remember as well because Lisa was there. We had 33 people around the table. We met at the DSS conference room, the Beverly Lift State conference room at DSS. Karen Fuller, Deputy Clerk of the Legislature, staffed the committee for many, many years. And Karen knows how I feel about having long meetings or meetings, period, especially in the middle of the afternoon and not having something for people to chew on, lest you fall asleep. So we'd have cookies and potato chips and punch and whatever else for the meeting. Two great big things came out, or several things came out of this committee. Having a diversity statement, having our diversity policy. We had policy guidelines. The legislature was not ready to adopt them as policy in the, to the work of Lisa and others. We find Paula Younger, we finally got them into being an actual policy of the county. We also, Kit is also right, just about the excitement of employees wanting to participate, some wanting to participate because it just felt like there was ownership in it, others wanting to participate because they were concerned, as one person said, I repeat it every time, that they were afraid they were going to wake up the next day and Leslin will turn the county black. Those were their words. And they said, you've done something very different. And I said, if I had the power to turn it black, ooh, it would be black. But, but also just taking the time to educate. The diversity is not about black and white. That is beyond just black and white, and you're looking at it the wrong way. So did a lot of time with that. We gave our first Strength and Diversity Award out in the next year, 2006. And I've worked tooth and nail with HR to create the project assistant positions and get civil service to approve those. I remember very distinctly, I will call it a little bit of a fight with HR around that because they didn't think that the state will approve it, that, something that didn't exist. And I said, no, you're wrong. I work at an organization where it does exist, so there's already precedence. And so we can get the state to do this. And then we try to get the state to also pilot the pass-fail system because we know civil service is a major barrier. We did some work with Cornell ILR school and to get some students to help us to really look into the civil service system, see if we can pilot pass-fail instead of the top 3 here in Tompkins County, see how it was working in other places. And we petitioned the state to allow us to do that at one department, which was DSS. So can we do it at DSS and see how it worked? We were not successful, but I haven't given up on it. Our diversity logo, we had a big party on the Commons to unveil Tompkins County Diversity Initiative. With our logo, we had a cake with a logo design on it. We had ice cream, and just about every department participated. We came through it around lunchtime. We wanted the community to know that Tompkins County is taking the leadership and being a best in practice organization around diversity, equity, and inclusion. At that time, diversity and inclusion. We developed with the wonderful assistance of Constance Thompson, our recruitment resource guide that was shared and sought after by many, many counties throughout this country, not just within New York State. And we share that. It needs updated in a bad way because it has been a useful tool for us. What else did we do?
Didn't Leslin, the climate survey originate out of WDIC? That was huge.
Climate survey, yeah, the very first one that we stole from Cornell and didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we tried to make it work. We did it, and then we thought, well, now it's done. Who's going to interpret everything that somebody said? But we got through it, and it revealed quite a bit, and that's what fueled a call for continued climate survey for what's going on in the county, getting that pulse of the county relative to diversity and inclusion. Larry is very right. We spoke the language and we intended for the organization to infuse into everything it does. Diversity, inclusion, and equity, not a second thought, not an add-on, just is part of everything we do. Gosh, there was just so much more.
And Dina and I, as Larry indicated, Dina and I then took it, again, we were both in kind of a training mode. And granted, this is just a DSS, but we took it out to the 180 employees at that point and did, I don't even know how many sessions, because we did small sessions where we wanted to have there be interaction and communication. And we rolled that out over about a year's time to really meet with all the different work units and develop that language and that cooperative culture of really making this a part of the work. It was the first, we've done many other things since then, but it was really the first of all of that organization level communication around diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. And you can go ahead, people can ask questions as we go along. And then just lastly, we also developed a communications plan, because we recognized that part of DEI work within the county and what was missing is folks feeling like things were just handed down with no proper communication. And we worked, our PIO at that time, Wendy Skinner, we worked together to develop a whole sort of communications plan and how we get information out, how we share information about workforce diversity and inclusion. I spent, 5 o'clock in the morning at the sheriff's department trying to get people at the highway department at whatever ridiculous time in the morning that they come to work. They're like, hey, you can come at 4:05. Just rolling out information and engaging employees. So, that's a lot of where we are. Thank you, Deanna, for your question. We did begin our diversity plan for the county. It was still in draft form. It was something that we wanted to have completed, and maybe the wonderful iteration of this group can work on that. I think I might have sent it to you, Deanna. I think I did. I'll send you the last draft that we had, which related directly back to our diversity statement and policy. And so, yes, we did a lot of work. Lisa, Larry, Amy, Kit, Kathy, and a host of other people. I agree with Larry. It would be nice to have some community members back on this committee. It is a special committee of the legislature that has a very direct and distinct role and responsibility. The legislature has standing committees and it has special committees. WDIC, because it is, and all those two sets of committees are usually made up of only legislators. WDIC, because of its inclusive nature, made up of so many other different people. It doesn't fit into either of those categories, but it gets special privileges from the legislature to report directly on the legislature floor what we are doing. We, as a committee, report to the Budget and Personnel Committee. So a resolution coming out of here then goes to budget and then to the full legislature. So in a big nutshell, that's a lot of our history, a lot of what we have done and accomplished. We're very proud of it, and we're very proud of the work that continues to be done.
Leslie, one of the questions I know you did send me when we met to talk about, advancing an overall broader plan, that I may have misheard you. I thought you had mentioned you had a communications plan, which I thought might be a smaller something. So that's what I was asking. Is that exists somewhere? Because then it helps contextualize for me, like where we've been and what was successful, and then also that would lead to a follow-up, 10 more questions, and then where could we go? It
does, and I can pull it up on my system and forward it to the committee as well.
Thank you.
Can I just say, related to that, I'm the chair of the Public Information Advisory Board, and that we have a pretty diverse group of membership now. And we're talking about things like making sure that people who speak languages other than English, that we're communicating with them about basic county information, and also that we're thinking about reaching out to various communities. We're also talking about the public relations around and giving Dominic feedback. Dominic Recchio is the PI, Public Information Officer for the county. Or actually, I can't remember his exact title. But I would suggest that a place where you would get a lot of support for developing a specific media strategy around diversity is at the PAB, and we're already talking about relationship issues related to diversity there, mostly because Dominic was committed to making sure we brought some people of color onto the PM, and I think we've been successful. Still need to do some work, but anyway, I think we're in a good place to. Both of these committees are in a good place to work together, back and forth about how to create a communications plan.
So Larry just raised something. I remember one thing that was extremely important had to be with language accessibility that came out of WDIC, and Ruby probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm forgetting the terminology now.
The LEP plan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Came out of this committee as well. So, yeah. There's a lot that we have done. Keeping Families Together Act came out of the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee here. So we've informed a lot, advised a lot, and done an amazing amount of work.
And I would just say that I don't think there's anybody, whatever their position is, about the importance of workforce diversity is, and maybe they wish we wouldn't talk about it, but there isn't anybody who doesn't think that that doesn't understand that what the WDIC does is important, and we're an important resource and an important source for moving things forward. So even if people disagree with us, they still feel like, oh, I have to sort of, I have to respect the work that they're doing.
I would also throw in the reasonable accommodations policy had its roots.
Thank you.
That took a lot. That was a heavy lift, but very necessary one.
Thank you, Lisa. Definitely that, and the education video around safe space. Having the county, advertise, make sure there were postings that we are a safe space, and working with and directing the Office of Human Rights to create that education video about what it means to be a safe space.
Cool. And also the exit interview process for employees.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
oh, yeah.
Here, and there are so many that had their start in WDIC.
And we are eventually going to get the county to do much more employee recognition.
They're doing a very good job of it right now, Larry, because we pushed for I don't know how many years. Like, you have got to have a very robust employee recognition program. And we were very, very hard on that one. And it's working nicely, because out of WDIC came the employee picnic that we were not doing. We've never done, where employees get to interact and hang out with each other and cross training, for departments. Yeah.
And the LGBTQ trainings that there've been.
The transgender training. Yeah.
How about the working from home and flex work schedules? Did that come out of this committee?
WDIC.
And the flag policy.
Oh, yes, the flag policy.
All right, I'm tired now. Thank y'all.
So, Kathy, is this something you could make just a plain list of, or in the minutes?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because that would be something too. We could, I could read that at the next legislative. Well, when we get the minutes done, and or when I say Kathy does the minutes. So I'd like to be able to read that and to be able to share that with with the full legislature, just to show the history. If there's anything else people think of now, they could just say it out loud, or they could put it in the chat. Are you able to see the chat, Kathy?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so you could put it in the chat to all, and or you could email Kathy, and we'll try and get that in the minutes of just how many great things that have been accomplished.
And how dare I forget the reading and discussion program?
Oh, yes.
Right.
That is a big one that we got going, because starting the conversation around race and racism and diversity and inclusion was very difficult for a lot of folks. And so we try to find a way that was much more comfortable or safe, or, folks can engage in a different way. And that was one that came out of WDIC. We wrote for the grant to the state, got the template, and we've been doing it ever since. In case you all don't recognize, this committee is my heart. And it means a lot to me that we continue what I describe as a DEIJ movement, not an initiative, not an event, not a thing, but a movement. That is extremely important. So whether I'm here or not, I know that this work will continue, because people sitting around this screen are committed to it. And it's very important that we set the standard for what that looks like in an organization. I can guarantee you, just looking around this screen, when I started on the legislature and started with WDIC, if this screen was there and there were 30 people around the table, they will be probably my face as the only face of color. So for me, just looking here warms my heart.
Well, thank you.
The level of diversity in every respect matters.
Well, thank you for starting this movement in the county. And I humbly, stand on your shoulders, or walk beside you, or stand in your shadow, whatever the right term is, that we will.
Sorry, I'm a rugby player. You can stand on my shoulders.
I'm a soccer player. Try not to kick me in the face. That's all I ask. So I want to thank you guys for giving us, this history. It sounds like we could keep going, but we do have one more thing, or a couple more things. But Nick needs to leave at 4:45, so we're going to go on to that. But again, thank you very much for all the work that you've done. And so Nick Humboldt and Kate are going to talk to us about the organizational values. So one of you want to start that for us?
Thanks, Annie. Nick, do you think we have time to do it before you're going to have to go, or should we?
I think we could do the presentation, but I might not be able to stay for any conversation around the resolution. I think we can probably, in the time I've got, go through the presentation, if that's okay.
Oh, yep, that's good. Okay.
All right, I'll try to share the presentation here. Let's try that. All right. All right, there we go. There it is. Can everybody see that?
It's a little small. Can you make it a little bigger?
Do the slideshow from the beginning. Just click your slideshow and then do beginning, and it should open.
How's that? Is that okay?
Can you get rid of the part that says next slide? Does anybody know how to do that?
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Perfect.
There we go. Good.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So yeah. So we are coming back to you from the values team here to talk about where we've come in this process, and share an update, and hopefully get your support to advance the values as we've refined them over the past few months. So I'm going to turn it over here to Kate to give a little bit of background on how this all came together.
Yeah, awesome, Nick. Thanks. So as Nick said, we're coming back to you. So I'll just do kind of a run through of this slide for you. So the idea of values, the values team came out of the results of the 2018 Workforce Climate Survey. There were 4 teams that resulted out of that. They focused around communication, performance evaluation, employee engagement and retention, and then diversity and inclusion. Those teams met, they were reviewing data, they were looking at things and really got to the place where they felt like something was missing in order for them to make the recommendations that they would put forth to the county to help these areas of focus. And the consensus was out of all 4 teams that it was community or Tompkins County values that were missing. We didn't have any workplace values. And so a team was created in the summer of 2019 to investigate the values, look at them, what they might be, talk about the different words, what those words meant, and then define them as in terms of our workplace, and to use our peers and our coworkers to help us do that process. Next slide. So I mentioned that the values team came together. It was 10 employees that decided we will volunteer to come together to do this. What we have listed here is administration, assessment, clerk, DMV, Department of Social Services, finance, information technology, planning, sustainability, and then my favorite, youth services. And it's important to know that this represented all levels of organization, all placements in the organization, right? It was a combination of management and also several blue and white collar representatives from our organization. So we were really well represented in all of these. And then one of the things that has transpired in this since our last presentation to you guys on this was that we have been working closely with different members of county administration and then a couple of members of the legislature to help figure out what these words needed to be and hone those definitions down so that they can be more indicative of what we as Tompkins County are going to focus on in the coming times. So, Nick, I'll pass the next one on to you.
All right. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of the process of how this all unfolded. This really kicked off with our initial meeting. Amy was instrumental in bringing a very long list, literally hundreds of different values that municipalities and corporations and other nonprofits and various groups had adopted for us to consider. We combed through those and got that list down to 20 that we felt were, potentially appropriate for the county. And we shared those as a survey for county employees at the 2019 Employee Appreciation Picnic, which I'll just share my appreciation for this committee's work in getting started. So it was great to learn a little bit of that history, and I really thought that was valuable here. So following the results of that survey, we had 300 employees respond to that, and that they could each choose their top 5 from that list of 20. And several people, wrote in different options and proposed different definitions. So we got really pretty good traction on that. We felt like, and really gave us a good direction to work with. Following on the results of that, we honed the list down to the top 8 and modified some of the definitions based on the feedback we had gotten, and did another survey the following month in September. Got pretty good pickup on that as well. Another 200 responses, and they were in that survey. We asked everybody to choose their just one value from that list. So that work kind of took us into the winter of 2019, 2020. And we were actually getting relatively close to having something ready. And then, as we all witnessed in the spring of last year, a lot of things kind of ground to a halt, and it slowed down our work a bit on this committee. When we were able to resume, we also found that we had some new staff on board at the county, particularly Deanna here, who's on the meeting. And I think with her guidance and other work here from members of the legislature, we were able to modify the values in a way that I think has been really helpful in giving us a clear direction. So we're going to walk through the next few slides here of what these 4 values are and the definitions we've landed on. So.
Sure. I'll start with integrity. This particular value was the top rated value on the surveys that came back, so it was very highly regarded from our peers. Not a whole lot has changed in this definition since we originally brought it to you a few months ago. The main difference here is that we sort of asked what code of ethics were we referencing in the values, and we have designated that we were talking about the Tompkins County Code of Ethics. So if you would compare the 2 definitions, we commit to honesty and uncompromising adherence to the Tompkins County Code of Ethics. That was really the only change in that one.
Next up is accountability, and the definition here of is we hold the organization and each other responsible for decisions that affect the public and our employees. I'll just note that this was one of the definitions that was really strongly influenced by some of the responses from our survey, and one in particular that crafted this, led to this definition. So,
yeah. So respect. This again, there wasn't a.
Sorry.
So respect is the third of our values that we're going to look at today. Again, not a whole lot of changes here, except for the fact that when we were looking at what kind of culture we wanted to do after talks with county administration and some of the legislature, really had the conversation around adding the word safe into this. And I think it was a great addition and really does deepen and I think widen the importance of this value for us. So that was the only change that was noted here. Again, also, I think was the 3rd highest ranked value from our colleagues via those surveys. Okay, so this one, this equity is probably the largest change, the most important change that we're bringing to you. That's part of the resolution, just what we're talking about. Previously, we had the word community here with the definition, and after talks with Deanna and some of the other legislators, really thought that it was really important to have equity as a clearly defined value for Tompkins County, because this is something that's going to go into our workforce evaluations. It's going to go into our onboarding. It's going to go into a lot of different things. And it was really important that we clearly stated that equity was an important value. As we went and we just went ahead and did that swap with those. However, we thought it was really, really important to keep the essence of the word community, because we know that we're trying to create a community internally that's both equitable for all, fair, and so this definition is sort of a complete rewrite. And so I'll go through it with you, but just note the word community in there, that we did try to keep the true essence of what was there in that first definition. We sustain a workplace community because we wanted to hone in on the fact that it was the workplace that ensures fairness through diversity and inclusion. We also felt it was important to add in the eliminates structural oppressive systems, which is something that the county as a whole is beginning the task of doing. And so we really, Leslie and Deanna really stressed the importance of that. And I could not agree more. I think that calling that out and saying that was really important. And then we went on to say that we're building trust and appreciation and opportunities for all. So I think this was a great add. And, like I said, it's the most notable change in the resolution that is there as far as values go. So.
All right. So just to tie things up a little bit, we'll hit on some of the ways that these values will be used and how we anticipate them unfolding following adoption by the legislature. This is not just something that we want to put on a poster and put in the break room for people to see for 10 minutes and then forget about. We want to really integrate this into a multitude of aspects of our workforce. Looking through how department heads communicate to their staff, making sure that we have relevant media with video, discussing the values and what they mean. Incorporating these values and their definitions into performance evaluations and also onboarding. So really kind of keeping it a consistent theme throughout the term of your employment and then as a member of the staff here. And also even before employment, making sure that people who are potentially being recruited to this county as workforce understand, what it is we stand for. So these are just some examples of what that means in terms of how these values would be used in the county. So that is the end of our presentation. I've got just about 5 minutes here, so I'll try to stick around and answer as many questions as I can.
Do we have any questions or comments for Nick and Kate?
I have a question about the visual. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Lisa.
I just wanted to say thanks for the presentation and thank you for the additions. I agree that these are the directions that we want to be moving in. And so I appreciate the committee's work.
Thank you.
And Deanna?
Oh, that's good. No, I was just going to ask the question about the visual. With the one of the things that that this committee is working on, or what is revamping of the diversity statement, but because of we're trying to work, in alignment with the values, and everyone is aware of that. And so, is this something that's been agreed upon by the values team? The reason I'm asking is because I'm looking at the words in the order, and hierarchy means something, and how it appears. And so I'm just asking, have we had any thought to some of those things? And I'm just thinking about that as we swing to the next phase.
Yeah, so it hasn't, I don't think it's anything that's necessarily been voted on. It was, so the original logo was created by Dominic, and this was an addition that was done. And we, not only does hierarchy mean something aesthetically looking at it, the word accountability sticks out further than the rest. So I'm not particularly sure that I like the way that looks. So I think that's something that we can definitely talk about and go back to the drawing board and see. But so to answer your question, no. And I think there are multiple things that we can talk about. So.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I know you're short on time, Nick, and I think it's really well thought out. It feels when I read it and hear the presentation, it feels good in my heart. So from an emotional level, it just really does feel like a way that I'm wanting things to go. Are there any other questions or comments for these folks, Kate and Nick? Larry?
Can we get a breakdown, not of what people said, but a breakdown, not attaching stuff to individual people, but a breakdown of where the survey, what departments the surveys came from? Because I noticed, for instance, that the public health and mental health department aren't involved in the group that put this together. And I want to make sure that, I'd like to know where responses came from, if that's possible.
Out of the 300 that responded?
Yeah, Nick, did we ask that on the survey? Do you remember?
I don't believe we asked people which department they worked in, but I'll double check on that and get back to you.
Okay, if it's at all possible. If it's not, then it's not. Thanks.
Sure.
Anything else before we go to the resolution? Okay, are we ready? Are folks ready to, okay, so can someone move the resolution? Or Leslie, did you have a question or did you want to move it?
I'll move.
Okay, Larry's moving it. We have a second to get the values resolution on the floor. Kit? And so any discussion before we vote on this?
Just thanks to the team for all the work that went into it.
And to note again, just for the record, that the energy for this came from the climate survey, which is the thing that the WDIC agreed needed to happen. So what we have put in place in terms of our vision and our mission is having direct impact on what everybody in the organization is doing.
Henry, you have a question?
Yes. Is this the first committee that this has gone to?
I believe it has to go through 2 other committees. So yes, but we will be sharing that throughout the next month with the other ones.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, yes, Henry. So it comes here because, this is where, like Larry said, and then it goes to budget. Once it passes
And
here, it goes to budget, which is a standing committee.
Does
And I
it also-
believe from,
Personnel, the next one.
Does it also go to GO
and I think the next committee is GO.
as a policy? Okay.
Right.
And then I'm hoping when this gets presented to the legislature that Kate, I know Nick looks like he had to leave, but hoping that you can do a presentation like this to the legislature if our chair is okay with that. Because I think knowing all the background and all the work that went behind all this is really important.
Sure. Yeah. I'm glad
I
to.
know the chair. I'll talk to her.
Okay, you have an in there.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
she also participated on this committee, so I think she'll be good with it.
Okay, so that's good to know. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, so let's take a vote on this. This is on the, so we're calling it the draft resolution. I guess will be called, that's what we're voting on, the draft resolution for organizational values, Kate? Okay.
Yeah, that's what Amy has titled it. So yes, I would assume.
Okay, all righty. So won't we start the vote, Henry?
Yes.
Leslyn?
Yes.
Lisa? Lisa, did you say something?
Oh, sorry, I said yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Larry?
Yes.
Kit?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Deanna?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'm a yes, so that passes unanimously. Great. So thank you for,
Sorry, and I just want to add that the title will probably be slightly different for this resolution when it goes forward.
when it
Yeah, thank
keeps
you.
going. Okay,
You read my mind, Kathy.
Yes.
all righty. And then Henry, did you want to talk about the meetings for 2021? For WDIC, the meeting schedule?
Sure.
And I just want to put something out there that's in my head that I don't know how you feel. We haven't talked about this yet, but I'm just thinking if you're thinking about going to every other month, I'm wondering if we want to have a little bit more time for this meeting. But anyway, so I'll let you go ahead. And now that I've put you on the spot.
Yes. Due to the staff time it would take to do this meeting, the chair of the legislature has decided that we should move to every other month to meet. And so the question is whether we start that next month or we take a month off and then start in March. I know that basically for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're going to run into basically conflicts no matter what we do. We're going to have to change the meeting dates, but because it's either going to be around Thanksgiving or it's going to be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving or the Wednesday before Christmas. So I don't know, what do people have a preference for? And also whether we want to take a gap of 2 months before our next meeting. Leslie?
And I just wanted to add to that part of
Leslie.
the consideration was about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Annie. I think you're about to say what I was gonna say.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the part of the consideration was about that we're still gonna have to be dealing with COVID through this year. And so, trying to figure out, how to free up some of the time for the staff this year. It doesn't mean we can't be doing things in between, but that was part of the consideration, not that this isn't of value. Leslie?
Thank you, Henry, and thank you, Annie. And also in my head was often we meet, we have assignments and there's not enough time between the meetings to be able to get things done properly. And so it was important, for that. And then we just come back the next month. It's like, oh yeah, we have these things and we haven't gotten to them yet. So just taking that into consideration. Like I've said to other committees, it doesn't mean that if something is pressing, that you can't reach out and say, hey, can we have a meeting outside of the schedule? And Henry, I would suggest that you start, you have a meeting in February.
Okay.
After all, it's Black History Month, man.
Yes, it is. African American History Month.
Okay.
So I
good.
would suggest starting, have a meeting in February and then starting from that point.
And
Okay.
I would just
Deanna?
like to lift up. I'm sorry, that was too good. That was good, Leslie. We are, one of the things that we're in conversation around is wanting to accomplish the development and implementation or launch of a strategic diversity plan. I met with Leslin about a month ago. I don't remember how long ago with Leslin. It feels like it's been a while, several weeks ago, and she's supportive of that process. And all those things would want to, and Henry, of course, I would want to work with you and Rachel, now the new chair or vice chair, on what that would look like. And so just in consideration of moving some of those things forward from a strategic place, making sure that there are the right approvals, input, and things of that nature, that would be my only concern, which is making sure we have access. But I think Leslin cleared that up in terms of if there's something that's needed immediately, we could ask for a meeting or ask those questions. And also, I do appreciate giving additional time in between those things to be able to move things forward. So that's one of the things that I wanted to touch base with you on, Henry, as we move ahead and trying to get to a better sense of what those things might look like.
Okay. Yeah, I also know that we had requested a couple of months ago about the statistics on the diversity of the workforce. And so Ruby, I know that, I requested from Lisa, and so we can get it maybe from you, maybe next month or 3 months from now, then we can also discuss.
Yep. Lisa and I are working on, we had mentioned, talked about that and providing those statistics as soon as possible in the context that they're given.
Okay.
I think too, Henry, just picking up on these discussions, we did want to make sure that we had a broader context in which we are providing them and as part of an overall plan.
Okay.
So that we have some recommendations maybe for goals, measurements, et cetera. So, so that's why we're going to try to do some of that pre-work to bring to the committee for consideration, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I also want to just have maybe updates from each department, like from the CDO's department, from human resources or whatever, and OHR too. And so we have monthly reports that we can put into the system.
Absolutely. And then just one of the things that we had talked about that's kind of been not in limbo, but in the queue, waiting for, that was to complete the values. And now that it seems like it's going through committee, we have a solid recommendation that's been approved here. The next step in terms of meeting, next steps with this group was to reconvene the group that had started meeting previously about the revamping and updating of the diversity statement. And so I will be reconvening the group of people. And then also if it's okay with Kathy as well, I was going to send a note out to this group again, calling for anybody who would like to participate in the process. I guess we had started a draft, but again, we put it on hold to make sure the language aligned with the Tompkins County values.
Okay. Hand it back to you, Anne, for your final moment as chair.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you, Henry, for working with me as the vice chair this year. I really felt like a team effort. Having talks about what we wanted to have on the agenda and what issues were important. And so thank you for work. I really enjoyed working together with you on that. And Leslin, thank you for your support and helping me figure out what to do and having faith in me to be able to take over the helm. I really don't feel like I've taken over the helm. I feel like this is such a group effort. I really just feel like a facilitator, but this is just trying to step into the movement and keep going with it. So thank you for all that you've done. Any other closing comments before we adjourn this meeting?
I just want Larry to know that you have 11 more months of me. But I'm not going anywhere after that. I'll still be around. This means a lot to me. So just to answer your question.
Okay, great. And then the next meeting is, let's see, February. Do we have the next meeting then set up? Does anybody have that date?
February 24th.
So February 24th at 3:30, and that'll
Yep.
be Henry as the chair and Rachel as the vice chair. So great. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next month. Enjoy the snow.
Thank you.
Oh,
Service.
For Ruby, this is a lot less snow than Buffalo, right?